Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar presented by Ingram Micro Cloud today, Masterclass Microsoft's FY21 Incentives Program and Partner Strategies. My name is Brianna, and I'm the Global Marketing Manager at Microsoft, at Ingram Micro Cloud, and I'll be your host and presenter today. Before we start, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. I'd like to remind you that you are participating in a listen-only mode. However, throughout the call, we encourage your questions, which you can type in through the Q&A widget on the right side of your screen, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end. Lastly, if I could direct your attention to the middle help button on the bottom bar. If for any reason you are having audio or video issues, please click that to test your system and access the FAQ. To the right of that help button and pinned to the right side of your screen is the resource list. If you'd like to access the files discussed on this webinar, please find all of them shared there. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording link will be made available once the session is concluded. All right. For our speakers today, we are joined by Dimitris Pozantidis, our Global Cloud and Security Collaboration Lead managing Microsoft Modern Work portfolio at Ingram Micro Cloud, as well as Joyce Hoffman, Global IaaS and PaaS Lead managing Microsoft Azure at Ingram Micro Cloud. And last but not least, Matthew Batterby, our Senior Business Development Manager managing Microsoft Business Applications at Ingram Micro Cloud. For our agenda, we will be kicking off this webinar with our key highlights of what's changed for indirect resellers from Microsoft's FY20 and FY21 incentives program. Then we'll be discussing 3 key strategies that partners should focus on to strategize and earn more across the Microsoft portfolios, and end with partner support through programs and resources that you can utilize today. Without further ado, Dimitris, I will pass it off to you.
Great. Thanks, Brianna. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So before we get started into the details of the partner opportunity within each of the 3 clouds with Microsoft, I wanted to first level set everybody on, what does the program design look like? What is required to be eligible for Microsoft incentives for CSP? And make sure that we all have a foundation there. So first and foremost, what you need to be eligible is, 1, you need to have an active MPN ID. Secondly, you have to have a silver or gold competency to be eligible for rebates and co-op. And for most partners who are just getting started, if you don't have a competency today, most partners look at the small and mid-market cloud solutions competency as their first step into earning a competency, because there's no technical certifications required to get a silver competency. All you need to do is have 4 net new customers for Office 365 or Microsoft 365 in a trailing 12 months, and pay the annual enrollment fee, and you'll be eligible for the competency. And just to level set on competency annual fees, for silver, competency fee is $1,670 US dollars, and for gold it's $4,730. So most of our partners will fit in the silver category unless you have an extensive team in which you need to get a ton of IUR licenses, or you have multiple people that you can get certified. Most of our partners fit in that silver competency bucket. So once you earn your competency, you have to make sure that you have your MPA agreement signed. That's the Microsoft Partner Agreement. This was recently refreshed at the end of January. And you also need to make sure you have your valid tax and banking information. Now, these requirements are the same as they were last year. And you can see at the top of the screen there, the program for FY20 was actually extended through the end of September. So we're just starting October 1st, just starting the new FY21 program. Now, looking at what's the same, what's changed as far as the program design, I'll start at the top row there. you can see that for core incentive opportunity, the incentives have stayed primarily the same except for business applications. You can see a small reduction in the core rebate. However, I will say that for biz apps, they have the highest earning potential for margin for this year. So don't let it fool you that the core rebate has dropped slightly, because you actually have the highest earning potential with business applications, and Matt will talk about that in just a few short minutes. When we look at customer ad accelerator, again, stayed primarily the same, however, suspended for Azure. So just note that the Azure new customer ad incentive is temporarily gone away, but for modern work, you can earn up to 10% of billed revenue, and business applications up to 20%. For the strategic product accelerator, this is where Microsoft will provide a bonus, an additional back-end rebate for specific products within modern work or within Dynamics and the business applications portfolio. And again, there have been some changes there. We'll cover that when we get into each of the specific clouds. But note that there's actually earning potential up to 10% of revenue for things like Power Apps and things like Sales Professional on the Dynamics side. Looking down the list, everything has stayed primarily the same from a rebate perspective, so 20% rebates on PSTN calling and conferencing, 10% on Azure reserve instances or reserve consumption. And so primarily the incentives have stayed mostly the same. And so what we want partners to realize is that if you're used to the FY20 program, FY21 isn't going to be too many major or drastic changes, but there are minor tweaks that you can use and leverage to maximize your profitability with Microsoft, and that's what we're going to cover today as we get into each of the three clouds. One point that I want to make sure that everyone is clear on too, when you see those percentages on payouts, 60% of that ends up being a rebate back to the partner. 40% ends up going to co-op. So Microsoft has kind of changed the way that they've invested starting in FY20 to really focus on delivering some co-op or some sort of co-investment with our partners as they look to increase their profitability. One last call out I want to make before we get to Azure is we might have a number of partners who have been direct partners, direct CSP partners with Microsoft. Microsoft announced this week that they have increased the limit or the requirements to meet the direct CSP requirements for the program. And so there might be a number of partners that are looking at, okay, well, should we be looking at Ingram Micro as an indirect provider? And I will say that the indirect CSP and direct reseller CSP incentives are the same. So all the back-end incentives that you're used to if you've been a direct CSP partner are going to remain the same as you look to become in the indirect reseller model. So just keep that in mind as well. With that said, I'm going to pass it off to Joyce Hoffman to talk about specifically incentives for Azure. So Joyce?
Thank you, Demetrius, and hi, everyone. My name is Joyce Hoffman, responsible for IaaS globally, and I will walk you through the Azure piece for today, which is not primarily focused on the rebate percentages, as that might not be the most exciting thing to see. Only these percentages doesn't make you rich, right? And also, I'm not foreseeing they will be increased anytime soon. With Azure, it's more about the broader message around how to maximize the value of your investments in this business, and hopefully that can give you some good direction for your strategy. So before I continue, I want to stress out that, you probably have experienced as customers continue to look to cloud in search of efficiencies and innovation, they are shifting towards more of a everything as a service model. And they are searching for solutions that allow them to become operationally lean while increasing their innovation potential, for example. And this presents actually an opportunity for your business as a partner to step into and deliver new forms of value. And a great first step is, for example, start driving efficiencies with your current infrastructure offerings. And within Ingram Micro, we want to help you to make the most out of these investments that you have made with us and with Microsoft, with the ultimate goal of enabling you to expand your solution portfolio to better serve the ever-changing needs of your customers. And we have defined a sales play journey with various paths, which we will be launching, which starts all with optimizations and ends with helping you to tap into new opportunities to innovate actually your customer's business and your offering towards them, with security and transformation sales plays in between, for example. And for today, I will go over the first step in the approach that I mentioned, that's going over that optimization piece, the optimization path, what is designed to take advantage of things like ROIs and maximize your rebates, plus showing you actually also other ways to make the most out of your investments with the business. So what does that look like? So today, more than ever, you need to operate and compete at speed, create new revenue streams, and also innovate faster. But at the same time, you need to control spend and manage your resources efficiently. And not just only because of the rebates, it's worth addressing inefficiencies within your infrastructure offerings, first to make sure to set the fundamentals right for growth. And eventually, it's not the rebates that makes you rich, like I said, focusing on that new revenue streams and focus on, the innovative offerings and services in which you can create IP as a partner, that makes you successful at the long term, actually. And I promise to focus for this call on that first step, setting the fundamentals right for growth and look at areas for optimization. And a couple of important questions that you can ask yourself are, have you made significant investments when building and scaling your cloud infrastructure through the years? And have the investments you have made in response to increased customer demand for cloud caused your margins to shrink? And another one could be, are you underutilizing your servers and only using a certain capacity while still paying for what you don't use? So optimizing your resources is actually a great first step in advancing your cloud journey and the cloud journey of your partners, with your customers. And with the demand for cloud solutions skyrocketing, you can consider expanding your solution portfolio to confidently support the current and the future needs for your customers. So through the Ingram Micro Cloud Optimization path, you can actually free up your budget to invest in innovation and strategic long-term customer engagement, as we are not just saying just optimize, right? No, we say optimize is just the first step in the journey, and after that, it started to get real exciting for your business, like building up your market position and outperform your competitors, or increase new upsell opportunities for the business. And these solutions let you tackle an environment that is not fully optimized, expensive to run, and does not deliver on its full potential. And we enable you to accelerate growth by investing in new technologies and innovation that meets actually the pressing needs of your customers. So let's get one step more concrete and see what's available in that Azure portfolio that we can leverage from. So at first, we have that reservation instance service that you could use. And that's actually great to reduce the total cost of ownership, but also to ensure your VMs are properly utilized and increased efficiencies and earn higher margins. And I'm focusing on this one for today, so I will just zoom in on that one on a second. But besides reservation instances, you can also use Azure Automation, which is a service within Azure that allows you to automate your Azure environment tasks and to orchestrate actions across external systems for right within Azure, actually. So you can use the Azure management also to manage the hybrid environments, which are non-Azure. And you can retain full control over the deployments and operations and decommission workloads and resources. And eventually, with taking advantage of this, you can save time and reduce your overhead costs too, for example. And another interesting service is Azure Monitor and Log Analytics. To optimize actually your operations with these solutions. And there are actually two services, but they are really close and integrated to each other. So that's why I mentioned these in once. And with enabling these, you can gain more visibility into your infrastructure and workplace, as you can, for example, benefit from monitoring and reporting, and also access insights into the performance, but also the availability of your application and services. So these are some examples that we highlight more in depth in this optimized sales play that we have designed for our partners, for you, to leverage from and bring over to your customers. And we also have brochures and fact sheets available for you if you want to read more in depth. But for now, as promised, I will go over more in depth around the RIs. So the flexibility of cloud is actually extremely useful for quick deployments or scale-up scenarios. However, this flexibility comes with an extra cost in some cases, and this can be avoided. For example, if you're able to estimate your needs, let's say, for example, your infrastructure needs for over a year, you can realize actually significant savings by committing to resources and planning your usage wisely within the Azure reservation instances. And besides the discount on the compute and the storage pricing that you already get when going to use reservation instances, Microsoft offers a rebate of 10% on all the actual consumed compute and storage within your reservation plans. And in every environment, it's about making a good combination on RIs and pay-as-you-go in CSP, where, for example, RIs are great for predictive workloads in your environment. And with doing this, you can eliminate cloud waste, lower the total cost of ownership, and retain control while preserving the flexibility. So let me explain those benefits to you. So first, you can gain greater control over your spend by purchasing prepaid 1- or 3-year VM contracts, allowing you to better budget and forecast with one-time upfront payment options, for example. And it's not only VMs, actually. You can also reserve storage in Azure and capacity, for example, for Azure SQL Database or Azure Cosmos DB, and even Azure Synapse Analytics. And the next thing, and I gave this example already, combine Azure reserved instances with the pay-as-you-go to manage costs for predictable and variable workloads, for example. And you can reduce the cost further with flexible reserved instance sizes. And at last, with RIs, you still have the flexibility to make changes or cancellations based on the changing business needs. There is an exchange option to switch them to a different capacity and sizes through the 1- or 3-year contracts. And there's even a cancellation option, which is against a fee, but the option is there. And with that said, I'm actually at the end of my piece of the presentation, and I just want to remember these are just your first steps in maximizing your value. And we will support you, our partners, in exploring new areas in order to help you build a business that innovates. So next to this optimization pad, you will hear us about our security Azure pad, our transformation pad, and also our innovate pads too, where we will talk about data and analytics services, for example, as we will be launching them soon. So I would like to ask you to get in contact with us via your local Ingram teams, and you can also request already for the full brochures to read all about it and really tap into this opportunity. So let's now find out more about modern work, and I pass the ball over to you back again, Dimitris.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joyce. And hello again, everyone. So moving on to modern work, as Joyce had alluded to earlier, the opportunity isn't all in the rebates, right, and the incentives. I think everyone knows that. No one's making money off of resale of licenses. However, there are certain areas where Microsoft is incentivizing partners more, and where partners are going to earn more services revenue if they were to invest into these specific technologies. And so I want to take a few minutes talking about that. And when it comes to profitability with Office 365 or Microsoft 365, the big question to ask is, are you capitalizing on the full remote work opportunity? Obviously, in the quote-unquote new normal that we're in right now, most businesses are having to work from home, and you can see it in the numbers. There's 3/4 of businesses that are adapting to remote work solutions. That we've seen 184% surge in video collaboration technologies over the past 3 to 6 months, and so really what I ask partners is, are you capitalizing on the full secure collaboration story, right? I'm old enough to go back to the BPOS days when Microsoft first launched their iteration of cloud, and the big driver for customers to move over to at that time BPOS was email in the cloud, right? And I think still we have a lot of partners who lead with email in the cloud. However, Teams, right? Teams is the hub, the collaboration center for all customers to run their business, and really the solution has grown leaps and bounds, and there's so much involved in Microsoft 365 today, which we'll touch on in just a minute, that we really need to make sure that we're messaging to our customers the full solution. Secondly, I'd ask, have you dedicated the right amount of resources and focus to driving managed service offerings around security? Security is the biggest growth area around modern work today, around the Office 365 and M365 opportunity. And it's where a lot of our partners are making their most revenue and their most gross profit, because it's all services from there, right? So dedicating the right resources to building that business. Finally, differentiating yourself. I know this has been like a very, this has been messaging that's been going on since the inception of Office 365. How can you differentiate yourself against your competitors? But really, it involves what additional solutions are you adding to the mix? And we'll talk a little bit about a few opportunities that you have with Ingram Micro Cloud. So the three things I want to touch on today are the main things that I want you to take away from today's presentation is, one, making sure that you're leading with M365 Business Premium. I know that, it's taboo to say, selling products versus selling solutions, right? But in this case, M365 really is the solution. It incorporates collaboration, security, and the OS. And so it really is that kind of full package from a Microsoft perspective. And our top partners are leading with M365 Business Premium in every customer opportunity because they know it's what's best for the customer. Secondly, I want to point you to a couple places where we can get started. It's very difficult to do complete upsells or sometimes even net new customer acquisition with M365, and so we're going to talk about a few places where you can really expand your opportunity within your own customer base. And the last piece that I won't really focus too much on today, but I want to make sure that every partner is aware of is that idea of landing and expanding, right? And starting with the M365 seat is usually the center for the collaboration and security, but there's so much more that you can offer around there to one, help your margins, but two, increase your stickiness with your customer. So you look at anywhere from migrations, right, and bringing your total cost of ownership down to actually deploy those solutions. And we've been offering, we've had a promo market for a long time for AppPoint, free migration licenses that's still in market today, to things like backup, where you can earn anywhere from 15 up to 70 points in margin on Office 365 backup, depending on what vendor solution you're selling, how much of that solution you're selling. But again, we have great partnerships with vendors like AppPoint and Acronis, where they offer rebate programs. There's tiered pricing. So if you aren't selling backup today, I mean, you're really missing a huge opportunity around the Office 365 landscape. Voice services, and the last thing I want to point out here is e-signature. E-signature is something that I don't think a lot of partners capitalize, but we're seeing the business booming. We have two major providers there. HelloSign, which is a part of Dropbox, and then we also have DocuSign on our marketplace as well. But want to make sure that partners know that you can procure those services through Ingram Micro Cloud today. So many customers are just going direct to the vendor to get those solutions up and running. But these are additional revenue opportunities for you as a partner. So again, today's focus is I want to really center on the first two. And let's start with Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Just want to make sure everyone is familiar and level set on what Business Premium is, because we get a lot of confusion still to this day on the difference between Office 365 versus Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 is essentially a combination of Office 365, enterprise mobility and security, so all of the security features, and Windows 10. And really, again, where the opportunity is within this solution, Business Premium is now the hero SKU for SMBs, right? It has been for the past 6 to 12 months, and there's been a lot of development into the product and to really make it a full solution for customers. They continually add features to this product. But from a productivity standpoint, again, it's all about Teams, right? We're seeing usage explode from March to June when COVID first hit. We doubled our Teams usage collectively with our partners. From July, starting in the new fiscal year, until September, we've continued to grow that usage another 27%. So very high utilization rates for Teams, and that's where a lot of partners are making money in deployments, assessments, trainings, and onboarding, et cetera. From a security perspective, again, security isn't a nice to have anymore. It's not like that insurance policy in case something happens. I mean, there are attacks happening every single day. And Verizon recently released their data breach investigation report that they do every year. And what they found out of the 40 some odd thousand incidents that they looked at was that about 28% were happening in SMBs. And out of all the attacks or incidents that were recorded, 45%-ish of those attacks were done by hacking, and out of those 45%, 80% were done by brute force. So just trial and error with passwords, right? So think about how much you can save a customer just from enabling things like multi-factor authentication and putting password policies on devices. That's all included within M365 Business Premium. And so super important that we're always leading with the full solution because, again, especially in this remote work scenario that we're all in, security should be at the utmost of importance for SMBs. Now, when we talk about what does the earning opportunity look like from an incentives perspective, there are a couple things that I wanted to call out as we look through the changes in FY21. So first, the core incentive of 4% back-end rebate, it remains the same from FY20 to FY21. There also is a new customer incentive that's available for modern work and for the security products. And so what that means in this context is that once a new customer, and they look at that by customer, the TPIDs, once you create a new customer. Once a customer reaches $250 per month in consumption, that's when partners are eligible to earn the new customer bonus, which is basically 10% of billed revenue. So again, strong incentives to go out and acquire net new customers, and that is continuing through FY21. The biggest change to modern work, though, is on that back-end strategic accelerator. Last year, Microsoft included Business Standard, Business Premium, E3, and E5 as products that were included in that 5% back-end accelerator. For this year, they've removed Business Standard. And Business Standard is, just to make sure that everyone knows the terminology, right, is what the old Office 365 Business Premium was. So think of all of your Office applications, the full version, not just the web-based version. That used to be included in a back-end accelerator. Now Microsoft is completely pivoted towards security. So it's all about security. And so making sure that you're leading, just by leading with M365 VP, or if they're above 300 users, the E3 and E5 SKUs, that's going to earn you an additional 5% right off the bat. The other thing to point out is that there's still that 20% additional incentive for calling plans and audio conferencing. Microsoft next month will be launching new promos for business voice with calling plans. There will be a 25% discount on those plans. And so not only will your customers get a discount, but you get an additional 20% on the back end as well. So I would strongly emphasize security and voice as the two areas of opportunities for partners. Now, as Joyce mentioned, no one's getting rich off of partner incentives, right? We know that the true opportunity is in services. And so for partners, when you look at the 3-year average revenue that you can earn from an M365 sale, I mean, it's consistently going back to your partner, or excuse me, to your customers, and doing things like training and enablement for teams, driving security assessments, either one time to move them to like a high-level security plan, or what many partners do is ongoing security assessments, right? Quarterly check-ins to double check on where they are at from a security and compliance perspective, and also looking at how to monetize ongoing managed services with security, right? So monitoring and alerting, policy management, et cetera. But even in the initial deployments, their partners are making strong, heavy margins on the deployments of things like DLP services, device management, identity management, doing things like enabling that single sign-on and multi-factor authentication, which we know is a large percentage of security attacks today. And so just by getting yourself established on a handful of those services will already put you in a position to make extreme multiples on the margins that you're making today if you're not delivering those services today. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to help partners and guide them onto where the low-hanging fruit is, where the immediate opportunity is within their customer base. And there's really two places I would start if you've already been selling Office 365 or M365 for a while. The first is looking at your install base to see what customers you have on Office 365 E3. If you remember going back just a year ago, right, or a couple of years ago, E3 was the hero SKU for the longest time, even within SMB. Even though it's an enterprise SKU, E3 was the hero SKU because it included all of your Office applications plus some additional security features. Well, now with the innovations that they've made on M365 Business Premium, there's a whole lot more security value in that SKU, and it no longer makes sense for users under 300 users to stay on E3. And so this is a big part of Ingram's install base. I would recommend that you look in your own install base to say, okay, what E3 customers do I have, and how can I move them to Business Premium? Really, there's a number of benefits for your customers. First and foremost, it will either cost the same price or they'll end up saving money, depending on what market you're in, by moving to M365 VP. They also get all that add-on security features. And lastly, they have Windows 10 included with it, right? So if you need to do things like Windows Virtual Desktop, you're able to do that within Microsoft 365. So again, not even an upsell, right? It's essentially taking a customer and moving them to the same price SKU, or in some cases cheaper, depending on the market, and giving them a whole lot more value. For M365 Business Standard, this is again all of your Office applications. Now it's all about adding security to that solution, right? And I think that for many customers, they might be using Office 365, but have third-party point solutions for device management or data loss protection. And really, the story there is how you can help your customers reduce costs. You see here that when you look at you'd be spending for things like email protection, single sign-on, MFA, antivirus, device management, the list goes on and on, right? Plus the productivity, they end up spending a lot more on a monthly basis. So what this does for you is you can help simplify management of all of these technologies, give your customer better pricing, but then also have a ton of services opportunity that you can throw in on top of that. So my recommendation, again, is lead with M365 Business Premium, and look within your own install base to see what are the motions where customers are the most likely to move. And I can tell you just from feedback from Microsoft and from a handful of our roundtables with partners, that upsell from Business Standard to Business Premium and the move from E3 to Business Premium are the two areas of low-hanging fruit for our partners to capitalize on. The last thing I just want to cover is we have a ton of content and ways to help train our partners on these motions. So first and foremost, I would recommend checking out GTM Hub in Cloud Marketplace. If you're not familiar with GTM Hub, I believe that there's a link in the resources to the site here to bring you through some training that will show you all about what we have to offer. But within our go-to-market hub, we have email templates, social media, website banners, landing pages, et cetera. So a ton of content for you as a partner to get trained and enabled, as well as for you to deliver right directly to your customer that you can just repurpose. The second thing I would add, and it's not on this slide, but I'll just make folks aware, that E3 to Business Premium motion, we just this morning launched a blog post going through what does that motion look like, how does it benefit your customer, how does it benefit you as a partner, and then what are the actions that you need to take within our cloud marketplace to make the switch. There's a link to the blog, again, in the resources, so I would absolutely recommend checking that out because, again, it's the lowest hanging fruit for you as a partner. The last piece that I'll add on this motion is just, one of the biggest challenges for our partners today, especially when diving into security, because it is, there can be liability risk there as well, right, is how to get trained up on delivering all of the services that are involved with Microsoft security. And so we as Ingram Micro Cloud have been investing in partner certifications. We run what we call Flight Academy training, which is essentially a 4-day course for partners to earn their MS 500 Security Administrator certification. This is a certification that will lead to a security competency if you're looking to pursue that with Microsoft. It also helps with kind of all the deployments from again, identity management to device management, how to set policies. This is a 4-day course we've been offering to our partners as a benefit to our Modern Workplace Accelerate program. And so for details on that, I would recommend checking out the link or reaching out to your Ingram Micro Cloud rep to get enrolled in one of those classes, because that's certainly something we can help with. So covered a lot of information, but hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions, please put in the chat, and I'm going to pass it off to Matt to talk about Dynamics.
Thanks, Demetrius. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, all good.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, we've saved the best Microsoft solution area till last, I think it's fair to say, in Microsoft Business Applications. So just to introduce myself first, I'm Matthew Bartleby, and I'm responsible for the Dynamics 365 business globally, alongside the global team. So yeah, there's a few things that we're going to cover off today around, the Dynamics 365 programs and support that we can provide when it comes to Microsoft Business Applications and helping more partners move into those areas. And then some great earning potential when it comes to the rebates, but then also other solutions as well, and how Dynamics can help drive those other solutions like Azure and like Modern Work as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk around before we go into kind of the rebates and the incentives and those kind of things is just talk about kind of the opportunity that sits in front of us when it comes to Microsoft Business Applications. There's some really great statistics out there when you look at how much of a organization's tech spend is reserved for CRM and ERP solutions, and it's around 40% of their overall tech spend. So when you think about that, if you're currently transacting Microsoft 365 and Azure, you're still leaving potentially around 40% of the overall spend of your customer on the table for someone else. And we've got programs in place that actually enable you to more easily sell Dynamics, and we'll come on to those a little bit later in the presentation. So we've got really great ways we can help you start and help you really optimize that practice. There's some other great statistics that we've seen about how by adding Dynamics 365 into your offering, it really is reducing churn. We see typically certain Microsoft resellers with a churn rate of around 20-25%, and we see that churn rate massively drop to sort of less than 5%, or if you're also transacting Azure, less than 1%, and you essentially become that one-stop shop for your customers. So there really is some great opportunity when it comes to what that can do for increasing revenue across Microsoft 365 and Azure as well as that brand new revenue stream being Dynamics. Also, how it increases the overall spend, how it drives, by adding Dynamics 365 into your offering, it really does drive the high-end SKUs of Microsoft 365, as well as driving more Azure consumption and moving more of that business into the cloud. So the opportunity is huge, and we're here with our Dynamics Global team to really support our partners with our programs, with our processes that we have in place to enable all of our partners to start transacting Dynamics much easier. And there's a couple of key motions with the incentives when it comes to biz apps and some of the great earning potentials that we're seeing. So starting with the strategic product accelerator, the core rebate is still the highest one when it comes to Microsoft applications, so 4.75% as a core rebate. And that's not to mention the other strategic product accelerators as well, where with the extra 5 and extra 10% dependent on SKU, with Sales Professional being at 10%, Business Central being around 5%, and also Power Apps as well. So there really is some great earning potential from a core rebate perspective, as well as those strategic product accelerators. And then you've also got the growth of existing customers, and that's also for net new customers as well. So the way in which that one works is for every customer that's onboarded into Dynamics that is spending over 1K a month on Dynamics licenses, then you get 20% of the annual contract value back. So let's say, for example, that is exactly 1K. The rebate that you would get back as a one-time earning is $2,400. So there's some really great earning potential there. And in fact, over a year period of a customer spending 1K a month on Dynamics, the potential earning back is over 4K. So some really good earning potential on those rebates, up to around 34.75% rebate back on potential Dynamics customers. And with these, the increase in rebates, and there's different programs in place, like the Dynamics Migration Program and the support that we provide through our programs as well. There's a really great opportunity for existing customers that are potentially using a legacy version of Dynamics on-prem. So that could be Dynamics CRM, Dynamics Nav, and GP that you can see there on the slide, moving into Business Central. And there is a massive opportunity, and we're doing a lot of work as a team using Microsoft's propensity tool to look at what that opportunity looks like. So if you're on this webinar and you've never heard of Microsoft's propensity tool or the term Cloud Ascent, it's a really great thing to get in touch with us for, because we can support with that. And that's not only Dynamics opportunity, but also Microsoft 365 and Azure as well, that entire Microsoft stack. But there is some massive opportunity when it comes to that. And potentially you weren't the tech provider that sold the NAV or the GP solution, but there's no reason why with our programs you can't be the one that upgrades them onto Dynamics 365 in the cloud. So there's a massive opportunity there as well. And then with the Power Apps, again, there's a massive opportunity here when it comes to Power Apps and getting started with Power Apps. If you don't know where to start, again, get in touch with us and we're happy to support. But it's a really great area to get involved in. There's so many what we call everyday developers or citizen developers now in Power Apps building applications for their customers. The opportunity is huge, and it can really add a lot of value to your customers and make you even stickier to your customers as well. That's the whole business applications message, I would say, is it makes you very sticky to your customers. And with our programs, we're enabling you to move into these spaces much easier. So just to kind of highlight what these incentives look like on this slide here, as I've already mentioned, you've got the core rebate of 4.75% there at the top, which is all of the business application SKUs, all the dynamic SKUs there. And then you've got the 20% annual contract value. So the way in which this one works, because you've got the customer ad incentive and you've got the growth of customer incentives. So hopefully I've already explained the customer ad incentive quite well, whereby if it's over 1,000K, you get 20% of the annual contract value as a one-time earning. But for the growth of new customer, this is a really interesting one, because this can be available for existing customers and new customers as well. So let's say, for example, you're billing a customer and they're at, let's say, $1,000 a month spend, and then you get them up to $1,200 a month spend. Maybe add some seats of Dynamics. What that enables you to do is you'll then get 20% of the annual contract value for the difference. So that $200 difference, you'll get 20% of the annual contract value on that. So there's these great ways, and that's a really great thing about Dynamics is you might start off with 1 or 2 seats of a sale. Let's say, for example, you start off with Sales Professional. That can quickly move into transacting Customer Service Professional, Business Central, and different solutions around your customer's business that's required. So that's a really great incentive, and it's great to see Microsoft continue that one, because it's a really powerful one to encourage that adoption into Dynamics. But then also to work with your customers to help them grow. And then, as I've mentioned, you've got the extra 5% there for Business Central, and then the extra 10% for Power Apps and Sales Pro. So some really great strategic product accelerators to help you really boost your earnings when it comes to the incentives. Now, I've mentioned a couple of things about the programs that we have in place to enable partners to move into business applications much easier. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some of those now and some of the benefits of those. But if you want more information on these, feel free to get in touch and we can have more of a conversation. But for example, we've got our Dynamics 365 Accelerate program, which we're seeing some really great results with this globally, with partners that have never sold Dynamics before quickly moving into that space and making their first Dynamics sales in a matter of weeks. We've got a great global team of experts with Dynamics solutions architects and other licensing experts. The full team is Microsoft Dynamics certified as well, which is something I'm really proud to say. And we're here to enable you to have those conversations with your customers around business applications. You know, what are they currently using? What's important to their business? What processes do they currently have in place that aren't working for them? So we've got this team in place that can support you, and we also have what we call our elite service providers that can provide implementation services as well. And the great thing with this is you still transact the licenses, you own that customer relationship, and you know that you've got an award-winning Dynamics partner that's going to be providing you that implementation service. So it's a great customer experience for your customers, great experience for you as a partner, and you've kept that customer. And you're earning that revenue that you wouldn't have been earning before. So there's some really great opportunity with that Accelerate program. And then we have the Dynamics Angels program where you can take that to the next level. So the process I've just talked through is what we would call maybe partner to partner, where you sell the licenses as a Microsoft partner, but you don't provide the implementation services. With the Dynamics Angels program, we can actually train you alongside our elite service provider to deliver the packaged offerings that we have for Dynamics 365 Business Central. So we can really take your practice to the next level, working with the existing teams that you have, and then you pick up more of that professional services revenue as well. So that's kind of the next step there. You don't have to move into that next step. We would encourage it, but you don't have to. So either of those programs could be right for you. And believe me, when we've looked into the Microsoft propensity data, we know there's a massive amount of opportunity for Dynamics out there. So it's definitely worth having a conversation with us around those programs and how we can enable you to move into that space. And as I say, it's going to boost your Azure consumption and boost those Microsoft 365 customers as well. And the last thing I just wanted to touch on this slide is some of the other resources and collateral that we have available for our Dynamics Accelerate program, the practice development as a service. So we've partnered with Neural Impact, who deliver practice development. We have them available on our Accelerate website. We would need to give you a password to access those. And I would say that as much as they are kind of Dynamics focused, I think there's a lot in there that you can learn from a sales and marketing perspective from experts that are going to support you across your wider business as well. So that bottom one there is a really key one to have a conversation with us about. And as I've already mentioned, we've got a global team of Microsoft certified Dynamics 365 experts that can support, as well as a whole host of content, collateral, training, everything that we provide completely free of charge as part of that program. So we can train your sales teams to have a Dynamics conversation. We can train them the very much basics of Dynamics. We can support existing Dynamics partners with the enhancement plan renewal offer that's currently in place, the BREP to CSP message there. As I've mentioned, we really do have the best collateral, and we've also got some really great resources in our go-to-market hub as well to support you from a marketing perspective, so you can actually turn this into a really proactive part of your business without taking time away from what you're currently focused on, which is something that I think is a really strong message. So just having a look at this now, as I mentioned, we have that go-to-market material. Email templates, social media campaigns, website banners, you can create landing pages, and we have sales playbooks. So we really do have some great support, and we have great people, as I say, all Microsoft certified that can support you with end customer conversations to really help you capitalize on this opportunity. As I mentioned, just to hammer those points home, it's the highest earning potential from a Microsoft incentives perspective, and it's also going to drive that Azure consumption. It's going to drive those high-end SKUs of Microsoft 365 as well, and it's going to reduce your churn. So it's going to really add a lot of value to your business. And then one thing I wanted to highlight, now we do have a whole host of webinars and on-demand videos and things in place, but one key one that I wanted to call out is our Third Cloud Thursdays. So we always have good fun putting this one together. It's our constant monthly webinar that we do. You can register for that on our website there, the microsoft.ingrammicrocloud.com/dynamics. But it's definitely one that's worth joining every month. We touch a whole host of different topics every month, and it's always a different presenter as well from our global Dynamics team. So it's definitely one that's worth registering for. But if you check out that website, we do have, as I say, a whole host of videos, content, demo videos, training videos, all sorts of stuff in there that can really support you on your Dynamics journey. But I would just strongly recommend getting in touch, raising your hand if you like, and expressing that interest to have a bit of a further conversation about this, and we can go into a bit more detail and hopefully help you win more deals as well. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand you back now.
Thanks, Matt. So in terms of partner support, we do have a wide range of resources, programs, and promotions available for our partners to leverage today. And shared in our resource list on the widget to your right, we have our Ingram Micro Microsoft Programs and Resources PDF, in which you can find our partner programs, such as our Accelerate programs available for Azure, Modern Work, and Dynamics, as well as ISV activation. Insights into our platform and services through Cloud Marketplace or our GTM Hub or Go-to-Market Hub, which Demetrius and Matt had spoken about earlier. Industry leadership through events like Cloud Summit, which is our annual cloud conference, with next year's partaking on May 4th to 6th. So if you don't already have that saved on your calendar, please do so, as well as our strong community through our partnership post newsletter, as well as partner testimonials across the world. Now, we know it's hard for our partners to keep updated with changes that are constantly happening at Microsoft, and so we created a monthly e-newsletter which summarizes the top news and updates released by Microsoft, as well as some of the promotions and programs that we have in place to help our partners navigate through all these changes that Microsoft has. In our recent October partnership post, we spoke about Microsoft Open License Retirement that will be happening on December 31st, 2021. And the availability of perpetual software in CSP to help partners who are traditionally purchasing open licenses and doing so through CSP, where they can earn anywhere up from 3% to 0.75% in back-end rebates by doing so. Similar to how you've joined this webinar today, we also have our Microsoft Engagement Hub, with upcoming webinars as well as on-demand webinars that have been produced in the past to keep updated with Microsoft updates and what's happening with Ingram Micro in general. And, you know, within Demetrius and Matt's sections, they also spoke a lot about the marketing assets that are available for our partners today. These are pre-developed emails, social, digital banners, and landing pages that you can use today and ramp up quickly through our Go-to-Market Hub or GTM Hub. It is available to all Cloud Marketplace partners, so if you have a login access, you can find GTM Hub as a tile within your UX1 dashboard. And we have a link that has 3 webinars or 3 sessions on how to actually become a pro, and you can find that on the bottom right corner. With that, we are at the tail end of our presentation, and we do have about 5 minutes to go over any questions you might have around some of the content that was presented today. Again, you can find the Q&A widget on the right side of your screen, and where you can type in any of the questions that you have with the remainder of the time that we do have. I just want to open the floor. I do have one question that came in from a guest around Azure reserved instances. So Joyce, if you could help me answer this for the group on the call. With Azure reserved instances, if we as a partner purchase the ROI is there a way to apply or reapply the RI to another customer if the need arises, or does the RI stay with the tenant account only?
Yeah, so answer on that question, because, partners know that we have a specific AWS offering out there where we finance and manage the full RI system there. And if there was a kind of similar approach for Azure. So the case is not yet, but we are looking into this situation, and probably anytime in the near future we will be able to offer the same thing for Azure. So working on that one. As soon as there is an update, we will make sure we will inform our partner base.
Cool. Thank you, Joyce. There's a question that pertains to modern work. So, Demetrius, is there a hard limit of 300 users or per SKU?
Yeah, that's correct. It is 300 user max limit per organization. So what that means is, even if you had an organization that was 400 users, for example, you wouldn't be able to do 300 business premium and then another 100 enterprise licenses. 300 cap per organization for business SKUs.
Great. And for Matt, we have a question around incentives for business applications. Does this concern monthly, annual, or both subscription?
Yeah, that is both. As long as you've got a active competency, you're a silver or gold Microsoft partner, and you've registered in incentives, then yeah, you'll get incentives on those.
Perfect. And back to you, Joyce. Is it possible to transfer an Azure Direct Microsoft billing to an Ingram Micro subscription?
So there are possibilities for sure that we support. So my answer here will be yes. But we have to look into it as it's not an administrative transfer. There will be a migration involved where we can 100% support you in with not always downtime and stuff like that involved. So we need to have that, have to take a look case by case. So answer is yes, but it's not an administrative transfer. It's more so of a migration sometimes because not all Azure resources can be moved. So there are some exceptions that we then have to migrate. But, we have, a lot of experience with this, so we can help at all times.
Perfect. All right. I believe that's all the questions that we have today. We'd like to thank everyone for their time in joining our call today. You can find a recorded version of this webinar. It will come as a link in a few hours after this call. If you want to have some of the content that was presented today, we also have today's deck uploaded as a file that you can download on our resource list. Thank you again, everyone, for joining this call, and we hope you have a great day. Cheers.